Hi guys, I'm Leah, and I'm so thankful for another opportunity to share with you. Today I'm going to talk about living open-handed before God. You know, I live in the same world that you live in. I've carried weights that I shouldn't carry. I've carried labels I shouldn't carry. I've carried fears that I shouldn't carry. And you know, the issue with sometimes when we're carrying things we're not designed to is we get really familiar with them. And we get comfortable with them. And so, for instance, I had just recently, I have been in a counseling appointment where essentially I recognized that I was way more comfortable with the bondage of fear than the truth of freedom. And, you know, we know freedom comes with boundaries and all of that, but I was replaying that fear makes sense to me because it protects me, and it especially protects other people. If I live in the bondage of fear, that familiarity, even though I don't like it, nobody likes being afraid, but that familiarity feels like it protects me from the things of the world. And physical things, spiritual things, you know, you name it. And in recognizing that, I just started noticing, what is this grip that I have on something that's so familiar that I'm unwilling to exchange it without even knowing it. I didn't even realize that I was unwilling to exchange that for what God actually had for me. And during this process, I've really just recognized, like, God is calling us to something greater. He is calling us to something more than that. And so when we're holding on to the things that are not from Him, we find ourselves in these knots and these things that so easily entangle us. That's what Paul says, like, these weights and these sins that so easily entangle us. We notice because we're holding on to them. Have you ever tried to run a race holding on to things you're not supposed to? That's called CrossFit. I'm kidding. But even simple things like, you know, you might be living with that identity that you're the funny one, and that's all that you'll be. And I want to encourage you that you might have a gift for humor. You might. But you can also be wise, and you can also be smart, and you can also make good decisions. And the funny thing is we put these labels on ourselves, or somebody else does. I'm not going to discount that. Other people, you know, sometimes people share their opinion where they shouldn't, but we just carry them. Or the enemy says, hey, you're this. And you go, oh my gosh, am I that? And then it just sticks in your head. Or you're not worth that. And you go, yeah. And so this is my encouragement to you, is to start dissociating from the things that you know are not from God. If there is something in your head that tells you that you are not worthy of His call, remind yourself that God knows everything about you. Everything. The stuff that you don't want to say out loud, He knows that about you. And so when the enemy says that, you have to remind yourself what Jesus did for you. That He has called you worthy. He's the only one that can do that, because He is the only one that is. And so my encouragement to you is, when we want to live this way, this closed-fisted, this is what makes sense to me, these are the things that I've worked, this survival mode, this makes sense because I've lived, God really is calling you to live freely and to live lightly. Because we entangle ourselves all the time just because we won't let go of things that are not for us, that are not about us, that are not true, that are not what God says and what God has for us. And so my encouragement today is to live open-handed before God. Because this says, God, I'm ready for whatever you want. This says, I don't want to let go of what makes sense. Faith is a mystery. Mystery, I don't know what the definition of mystery is, but to me, mystery is something that doesn't make sense, that don't make sense. But my encouragement to you is to live open-handed before God. We're coming into the season of Easter. This is when Jesus did everything on the cross for you. He did it all for you. He did it all for you right now, no matter where you find yourself. Maybe you're mad at yourself. Maybe you're mad at people around you. But Jesus knows. He knows the condition of your heart. He knows every thought in your head. And He says, I'm so glad I picked you. So today, let's live open-handed, because our life is important to God, and He cares about us, and He only has good things for us. Happy Lent season, you guys. We're coming up on Easter so soon. I'm excited. Have a great week.